What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan from Calling in Favors, episode 19, The Angry Golfer. That's right, I'm back. Fuck it. I told Amazon to go screw themselves. Too many calls, too many differences in what the job was offered. So we're going to get into it a little bit. We're going to touch a little more on what I talked about this afternoon. We're going to start with the haters on TikTok. I guess finally I'm starting to get a little off of TikTok shadow ban. You're starting to see me a little bit more, but you know, there's been the haters. You had the usuals. Oh, you look homeless, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So what if I was? I still got swag. I'm still going to show up to the golf course set up looking like I belong. You know, and then Mr. Toothpaste, user, I don't know, 88,233,000,000,000 and fucking 77. Come on, fam. Telling me I don't match. He's like, oh, he's got a pink shirt on. It doesn't match. Baby Blue logo. Baby Blue belt. Baby blue. Hat logo matches the shirt logo. And if you want to talk swag and talk golf course, all right, we'll go navy. Maybe we'll go with this navy. Maybe we'll go baby blue. I don't know, maybe we'll go old school pink. Maybe we'll go new school pink. But when you're as swaggy as I am, the all white usually wins with this outfit. But it doesn't stop there. You think you're a boss, Mr. Toothpaste? Come on, fam. Get on my level, even the yardage book maxes. Come on. You ain't got swag to be talking shit like that from your private account. Come on, let's go. Anybody wants to have a contest, we can go at it all day, every day. Don't ever question whether or not I match. You know, I touched a little bit this afternoon on the Barstool sale. It's good stuff. I think it's cool. I think it's one of those things, like I said in the post, you know, I always looked at it as a comedy site. It was fun for me. You know, all the guys that I worked with were great down at the Super Bowl. They all said hello to my family when we went and said hi. We went to Rough and Rowdy, you know, said hello, saw them there. So, you know, I'm cheering for those guys. I've been a Portnoy fan since forever. Howard Gate was kind of the one that kind of I was like, this dude's funny and he doesn't care. You know, that's kind of me. You know, I start coming back to where I started with this podcast, you know, and I get to just chilling, bored with nothing better to do, right? You're like, I've got all these stories. I know all these people. It's like, I started the blog and the blog felt good, but at the same time, it's like you're stuck at a computer, you're doing stuff that you want to talk about, but do you really want to write about it? You know, there's still some times when it gets dark and I go write. I just don't publish it. That's all. You know, I put it on private, and that's when the dark conversations, you know, get in your head. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I'm there right now, but I've been at moments where you know you can't end it. I mean, I'm not going to do that to my family. It's not fair, but you don't want to be here at the same time. So you just kind of like, you know, you do and you exist and you kind of just take a deep breath every once in a while and catch up, you know, and I just never did it. I didn't do it for 20 years. And finally it caught up with me. You know, it's one of those situations where I knew I needed to talk to somebody. I knew I needed an outlet, but it wasn't easy. You know, it kind of, you get to that point where everything around you just doesn't matter enough to go talk to somebody. It's status quo is okay, you know. And then obviously there's the stigma of you know, mental health wasn't really a thing when I was growing up. It was towards the end, but not really. So, you know, you talk generations and things like that, and it's funny because all it is the kids getting raised by us, you know, or by the generation before us. And so you see the differences. Now it's getting to the point where the outside world has as much of an effect on how you raise your children and how you raise your family as the inside world, as your family. And, you know, like I said, I'm not going to get too much into detail, but my one comment to Portnoy about getting back to being the owner, he keeps going back to saying, I don't know what I can say and what I can't say, is just stay away from the guy that's telling the most jokes, because the kids that are the ones that are chirping the most are the most sensitive. They're trying to get you before you get them. And I admit it, I'm probably that dude sometimes, but I can take it. That's the difference. The kids today can't, because they chirp you and then all of a sudden you chirp them back and they go tell a teacher, and then they're in a safe space and then everything's okay and they hug it out and it's over. Well, it just didn't happen that way when we grew up. You know, it's you chime me, I chime you back. It's fun to me. You know, half the shit that you look back on relationships and friendships and half the stuff that I get into it with people from, I walk away laughing. You guys take it to heart, you know, and most of the time it's, you know, I just feel like I'm not being listened to. If I have a point and I'm in a situation where I'm talking about something that I know, I would think you'd stop and listen and say, wow, this dude knows what he's talking about. We should probably listen to what he has to say. And the more times that you get disrespected and not listened to, it just builds and builds and builds. And then when you feel like you're not being listened to at home either, you just explode. And you try to make sure it's not on someone you care about. That's all. So usually you explode on something that everybody else thinks is trivial. Well, it is to a point. You know, it's meaningful to me. So, you know, with the podcast, and again, I don't know, maybe that's why I haven't called for guests. I want to. I have every intention to, and it's just not my personality. I talked about that this afternoon too. You know, I'm not the guy that's saying, hey, let's go play golf. I'm the guy that's saying, hey, I got a tee time at 12:30. Who wants to play? You know, so that was kind of evident this weekend, right? With me having 2 tee times and having to scramble at the last minute to find a 4th. So, but again, it is what it is, and that's the way the situation is, and that's the way my personality is. So it's going to be tough to do a podcast, but when I'm out here, I'm just able to talk uninterrupted. You know, I can say what I want to say. I can talk about what I want to talk about. And if you don't want to listen, that's fine. You know, I've got a few hundred listeners that have been loyal. You know, guys reaching out behind the scenes. The mental health conversations have been great. I mean, I hope, you know, if I can help some of you realize that, listen, we're not alone. The golf business is tough on you. It seems like that's been the case behind the scenes. That's the stuff that I get the most comments on. You know, I broke down the other day, and it wasn't even a big deal. It was a ripped contact, but it was just another setback in a long line of you know, setbacks. You know, yesterday was another one. We got rained out, or actually, Tuesday. We got rained out. You know, I was looking forward to playing Thorny. I hadn't played it all season. You know, I played about 6 or 7 holes that day, but they had done that. The thing to the greens that they did, they aired G2G, and I was looking forward to getting back there. You know, we got rained out, and I'm sure we'll reschedule, but still, it seems like every time I seem to make progress, you just get frustrated. And trust me, that was one of many of those breakdowns. Maybe not that bad. You know, there's probably some that were a little worse. Sorry, trying to get a little comfortable in this couch and stuff. There was probably some that were a little worse, you know, but it was just kind of, that was that day. I was in here, it was hot. I was kind of, you know, ranting, and I was on one, so I let it go. So do I take it back? Of course not. I don't care. Like, that's the other shit too. Like, I never got embarrassed about anything. I'm not, you know, like, whatever. I say shit. I'm not that dude that says shit and wakes up the next morning and is like, oh my God, I can't believe I said it. If it's something that I feel like I need to apologize for, I apologize. That's simple. You know, if it's something I don't, something I feel I was right, then I don't. It is what it is. I don't have to say anything to anybody. You know, if you want to come out here and listen, great. If you don't, I can't change your mind. You know, the one thing I am going to start getting more into is golf. You know, I know a lot about it, and I have a lot of contacts, and I got to start reaching out to people and getting some tidbits and some information. But I know I will. I'll get it done. But today we're going to get into what I've been talking about and the things that I've been thinking about with the golf stuff. You know, starting with the golf ball rollback. You know, I'm not surprised that the PGA Tour didn't go with it. Sex sells, right? You know, 350 drives. You know, Bryson kind of brought that into the world again too with the long ball, long drive stuff. I think my personal opinion is they should do exactly what they did with the driver. It's here. You know, this golf ball is good for the rest of the time. There's enough of them out there to fit everybody. Cap it. Stay it right here. Don't roll it back. Listen, they're building golf courses. They're designing golf courses. People are spending money on equipment and stuff like that to play a game that is today. You start rolling the golf ball back, and now it changes everything. Guys are going to be tinkering with drivers. Guys are going to be tinkering with fairway woods. Then you run into, do you play the rolled back golf ball in the top tier amateur events? You know, do amateurs that play the U.S. Open, do they have to play it? Is that fair? It's the one tournament a year that they're playing that golf ball. It just opens Pandora's box to so many other what ifs that I just don't think it's worth doing. But if you cap it where it is right now, just like they did with the driver, and I think they ought to up the driver speed on the robot for the numbers. You know, it's been a while. I think they're still at like 98 or 100. I think, you know, 110 is probably more realistic for the top end testing to see what tour players are doing and amateurs are doing. It kind of falls more in that middle. You know, golf's become a more athletic game. People are in better shape. They're hitting the ball longer and hitting it further. So you really have to do a better job of keeping up with the times in terms of regulating it. You know, we should have been preparing for this a long time ago when the 400cc driver came up, you know, and then the trampoline driver was that Callaway ERC. They should have been thinking about the golf ball then. You know, I know obviously they hadn't mastered it yet, but the Nike Tour Accuracy was out at that time in 2000. That was when I was working at Hyannisport Club, and one of the members had the ERC driver, and we used to laugh about it and talk about it, but that was the start of the three-piece golf ball, you know, the Nike Tour Accuracy. You know, you listen to guys talking about Tiger, and listen, I ain't taking anything away from Tiger. Don't count this as hate at all. But they said, everybody says he had an advantage over the field in 2000, 2001 with the three. He was the first one using the three-piece golf ball. So that's my opinion. You know, something has to be done, but I don't think you can go backwards, and I don't think you can have two separate balls. There's too much professional and amateur interaction. It doesn't make sense to have two golf balls. You know, one little off-topic point on that statement, I don't understand why teachers are called professionals, right? We're coaches. You know, is an NBA coach not allowed to play? I guess NBA is a bad example because they're professionals, but like, is a college coach not allowed to play a pickup game because he's a pro? Or, you know, I don't understand why a guy that teaches golf for a living is considered a professional and can't play amateur events and stuff like that, especially now with the name and likeness and all the money that's going around and the prizes and stuff. I think, you know, I should be able to go to a driving range tomorrow and teach the people that I have in my email list and make a living and not call myself a professional. I'm not. I'm a golf teacher. I'm a golf coach, not a professional. So again, it's just the weird things and the weird way golf does stuff. Sometimes, you know, it's the way it's always been is the answer, and it's not a good one. So that's my conversation. And again, that's a little spin-off of the golf ball rollback. You know, maybe in the future, like I said, I've had some golf pros reaching out talking about mental health and talking about the struggles of the business and, you know, the hours and things like that. And maybe we get some of those guys on and get their opinion on it about, you know, why can't they go play a buddy's member guest? You know, why can't they go have fun somewhere else? You know, honestly, it kind of helped. You start to go out playing golf tournaments elsewhere and you start seeing the things that people are doing at their home club. Now, if you're the pro at the club and you're doing all of that, I get it. You know, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about a guy like an assistant or something that's just working in a bag room, maybe teaching a little bit on the side. Why is he a professional? Why can't he play amateur events? I don't get it. And that's my argument when we get into the conversation about should pros be allowed to play in club events. My answer is yes. If they're a full paying member or any type of golfing member and they're at your club and they want to play your club events, club championship, you know, like yearly matches. At my former club, they called it the Governor's Cup. At Harmon, we called it the Harmon Cup. You know, you play two-man best ball throughout the season. I don't think they should be prohibited from playing those events. That's my opinion. I got my amateur status back, so anybody needs a partner for a 3-day, I'm getting there. I played my first round of golf on Sunday. I shot 75. It wasn't bad. Anybody that's played DW knows it's a pretty easy golf course, but my misses were in front of me. You know, it's tree line to tree line right now. Just keep it in play, keep it in front of me. I get it up by the green. There's a pretty good chance I'm going to make a par. You know, I shot 75 with no birdies, so it's not bad. We'll get there. But anybody looking for a member guest partner, I'm ready. I'm your guy. The other one that I wanted to talk about that cracked me up, Carlotta Ciganda went nuts about the 2-stroke slow play penalty to the point where she didn't sign her scorecard and she got DQ'd. Slow play sucks. Everybody knows it. Everybody, you know, I wish this happened more often because baseball is already showing us that it wouldn't happen as much as you think. You know, you start penalizing people for slow play and people speed up. There's no reason for a slow play penalty. I mean, I'm probably to the opposite. I probably play too fast and probably need to slow down. But, I mean, if you're a golfer and you're ready to go and you should never be penalized for slow play. It shouldn't happen. I mean, one, you should never get on the clock. But if you are on the clock, you should know you're on the clock. And it should never happen. So, again, there's the keyboard warriors chiming in with the stopwatch and saying it wasn't 45 seconds or whatever. Listen, it was close enough and she was on the clock already. She's a habitual offender. She's been penalized in the past. Speed up. It's that simple. Like, the USGA put in the rules where it's not even a breach of etiquette to play out of turn. If you think there's a chance you're on the clock, play speed ready golf for a hole or two and get back up. I don't get it. And the worst part is, I think the PGA Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour need to do a better job of protecting the LPGA Tour and women's golf. LPGA Tour is much quicker with the trigger to do a slow play penalty, and they're the ones getting bombarded at clubs being told that they're the ones slow play. It's not. You know, it's not them. It's obviously there's a select group in every crowd, but it's a collective effort to be slow. You know, most of the tournaments that I ran at my former clubs, the women played faster than the men as a whole. Now, I'm not going to say that carte blanche, and yes, there's exceptions to every rule. The one thing I think we need to do a better job as golfers is pulling along the younger generations, right? You heard me talking on the Instagram and TikTok today about, you know, the younger generations, they look like they're homeless, right? I mean, I know I started off ranting and throwing stuff around. I was joking in response to that, but I mean, the joggers that Tom Kim was wearing today, they look like baseball pants. Like, they literally came up to here. They're not even joggers. Like, I don't understand what's going on and why looking homeless is a cool thing. Like, I don't get the rope hats with the point, like, in the flat. I just don't understand it. It's funny. I saw the Barstool foreplay. Rappaport was Monday qualifying for the Korn Ferry event that they broadcasted. And I'll get into that too. I kind of got into it with a friend on that one today. I was defending the Barstool guys. And you'll understand why when I get into it. But he's playing the Monday qualifier. You would think, you know, they got a sponsorship with Peter Millar. You'd think he'd come out and, like, look like he belonged, and he didn't. He looked like some weekend schmo, just, you know, walked out of bed. And I don't like broadcasting that side. You know, if you're playing an event, act like you belong. You know, homeless is not a look on the golf course. That's just me. But again, it all ties into, and I know I got off topic a little bit, the slow play, but it all ties into etiquette and playing, having fun on your own, but knowing, you know, who's there and who's around and what's going on. Sorry, motorcycle just went by. I was trying to yell a little bit so I could talk over it. I thing that sucks about the storage unit is I can't record with Riverside because I don't have service in here. So we're going to get somewhere figured out where we can get on the internet. We can use Riverside, but I can use the background on iMovie and we'll figure it out. But again, what I was saying, again, the butterfly flew by. I got off topic. You know, they tell me I didn't have ADD back in the 90s. Wonder why I didn't get through school, test off the charts, but can't pass this class to save my life. What I was talking about was etiquette, right? We need to pull these guys along. That's where we're running bad at a lot of clubs. You know, you got the 65-year-old generation, and now you have the intermediate, the 18 to 20 generation. That group from 25 to 45 with the kids and the families and stuff like that. You don't really see a lot of them there, and it's yes, it's cost, but B, it's value. You know, there's just not a lot of value right now in a lot of the clubs, especially in my area, and the ones that are great you can't get into. They got a waiting list or initiation fee, so it's tough right now. Obviously I'm ranting about, you know, white collar problems, first world problems, but it is what it is. You know, you got to think about every generation and how do we go forward. I'm not going to rant and rave, but the lack of attention to detail at clubs and golf pros, it's kind of getting bad now. It really is. A lot of different places need to figure out budgets to get assistance and get golf pros some help, because it's just the stuff, the basic stuff is going out the window. You know, like I said this afternoon, I was talking about doing the scoreboards for the club championship, right? No, I don't want a pat on the back for that, but it was something that I enjoyed doing. It was part of the job, and it always was part of the job back in the day. Just because you can print something out on a plotter doesn't mean you should, right? The scoreboards with calligraphy and learning new tricks to make it easier to correct and do things, and dedicating somebody for the week or the weekend on that board. It was part of the golf business, and it was a timeout. It was a chance to be outside and interact with the members. Me personally, it was one of my only chances. You know, I was stuffed in the Bay 40 hours a week, so the only chances that I got to interact with members was tournaments. You know, so yeah, I went all out and I wanted to do it right. My last year, when they started changing tournaments and adding tournaments and changing times of tournaments without checking with me, yeah, it was time to go. You know, when I almost got into a fight with a member because of a mistake that my assistant made, and I wouldn't let him get hung out to dry by the scoreboard, but yet all he could do every time I wasn't there in the shop was talk bad about me and tell me how bad I treated him and how much of an asshole I was. You know, get the fuck out of here. Like, it is what it is. It's not worth that business. It's not worth the headache, you know. But if I could go to a range across the street and teach a lesson for $100 an hour or $200 an hour, whatever I could charge, I would. But I just don't want to give up my amateur status for a maybe and a dipping my toe back into a career where I'll end up strangling somebody. But we have to pull the generations along, and we have to teach etiquette. It's what happens at clubs when good players stop getting listened to, right? I'm not a golf snob. I'm not. I'll play with anybody. And the guys that I played with last year at Resi Days, one of them made a comment, was like, when I saw I was paired with you, I thought it was going to be a disaster. He goes, you're fun to play with. You cheer us on. You're like one of the guys. I'm like, yeah, dude, I have so much hate and talk about me when I'm not even around that you would think I was a murderer. Like, I've never been arrested. I've never been, as an adult, I've never done dumb shit. But it's like, it's one of those things you'd think I was an axe murderer. You know, I'm just another dude. Like, I just want to play golf. So, I don't even know where I went on that rant from. Like, it's just, what was I looking at? We got some editing to do because I don't know where I went on that rant from. But anyway, yeah, so the next golf ball thing, the next thing was, you know, part of that whole thing with the etiquette and stuff, this Justin Doden kid cheating on the Canadian tour, right? Buddy of mine behind the scenes, actually a former guest, texted me. He said I played against him in college. Doesn't surprise me one bit. You know, these people have their tendencies. You know, I believe in the whole once a cheater, always a cheater. You know, if I have a girl that I know that was cheating on her boyfriend or whatever, you got no chance of me dating you. It is what it is. I'm just, it's, I know, Clem, I say it all the time. I had to change saying to something, and now it is what it is. I'll find the next one. I'll get it. I catch it now at least. No, but like, that's, you get that vibe off people, and I've always been a pretty good judge of character. You know, when I see somebody, keep your eye on it. But again, it goes back to the conversation I've had with people, and it's funny, my ex-golfing partner, she used to get all over me all the time. We write the scores down. Dude, trust me, we know everything you did and every shot you hit on every hole. That's part of being a golf pro. This dude signed his scorecard, waited for the dude to leave the tent, erased it, changed the number, made the cut. But what's more impressive was the guy that played with him, checking the scores, was like, wait a minute, that dude wasn't supposed to make the cut, and called him on it. You know, so it is what, I know I caught it, but it's what it's supposed to be, right? You're supposed to tell people when things are wrong. Like, everybody says I'm a complainer. I complained about one thing at my former club. That was it. One thing. The greens. They lost in the summer. They're absolute shit show. And the first thing the the superintendent from the other golf course said when he came over was exactly what I've been saying for 5 years, word for word. No sand, no punching, no bueno. It's that simple. But I'm a complainer. So they labeled me as a complainer so that way everybody hated me and everybody didn't listen to me. Told everybody I was a wolf in sheep's clothing and blah, 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 and don't listen. Well, how'd that work out for you? But now what's going to happen is he's finally doing the things he's supposed to be doing. He's introducing sand. You're going to have the best greens in the state all fall, and Dumb and Dumber and the fucking Hurricane are going to get off like bandits. And they're going to laugh all the way to the bank and say, ha, 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 they just don't know any better, and we got them again. Awesome. You wonder why I left? Also on that line of cheating, right? Finding your golf ball. It's you watch good players play golf. When they hit a good shot, they don't, irons it's different because you're not losing, but a driver, when they hit a good tee ball, they're not posing. They're picking the tee up. That's going right where they expect it to go. When they hit a bad one, that's when you see guys, hold on, right there looking. That's the difference between a good player and a bad player. Most bad players hit a bad shot and stop looking and throw a temper tantrum and then look at who they're playing with and say, did you see where that went? Most good players know exactly where to go. They probably ignore at least me, I know I do. When I hit a bad shot, especially if I'm hitting first, I look exactly at that tree that I saw it go into, and I'm staring there the entire time, and I usually try to ignore conversation until I get up in there. Have an idea of where it's going. That's the difference between guys who play golf tournaments and guys who play, right? We don't want to lose a golf ball in a golf tournament. We don't want to have to reload and hit a provisional. We don't want to have to walk all the way up there and then walk all the way back when you don't find it. So we're watching it. We're staring it down. We want to see where it goes. The good ones, when I hit it good and I hit the sweet spot and I look up, I see it go for 10 feet, and I know where it's going, I'm going back to the cart. I'm going to sit down and chill. I don't pose. The only time I pose is when you're hitting one with an iron and you stuff it and you see me going up and down, or you see good players, they're holding it and they're looking up in the air, down at the flag. That's when you know they hit a good one. But again, it's not a matter of losing the golf ball and not losing the golf ball. So now this brings me on my timeline to what I was going to talk about, but I didn't really want to get into, and I didn't want to sound like a hater. So I actually reached out to a buddy today, and we were talking about the Barstool sale. And he was like, good, they suck. And I'm like, they've been watered. I agree, they've gotten watered down a little bit. I wouldn't go as far as to say as they suck. My comment on Barstool's sale is I hope we get more original content. I don't like a lot of the new stuff. A lot of the new stuff is kind of hurt type stuff. The original listeners, and it's funny, when I tripped yesterday online, I got a ton of responses from guys my age. The original listeners in our 40s, late 30s that, were going up to the playoffs in 04 and maybe not 04, but 05, 06, 07, going to the playoff games in October and getting off the tee and, grabbing the Barstool Sports newspaper, whether you read it or not, you had it in your hand, and then by the time Deflategate came out, they were in the mix, and then obviously Howitzergate and all the rest of it. The thing, actually not Deflategate. Well, the first one was Spygate was the one that they really got involved in. But it's the thing that I liked about it was they just kind of did whatever they wanted to do. They didn't answer to anybody, and they evolved. I look at hip hop. I mean, Barstool the same way you look at hip hop, the same way you look at anything, right? The old school is always going to have the sentimental touch to it. Dan and KFC and Portnoy on the Rundown. That was 5-10 years of my life watching it every day. So when it started to become Tommy Smokes, which I don't mind him, I really don't like Marty Mush, Glenny Balls, so when it started to become them every day, I just stopped watching it. And then all of a sudden now you see the algorithms change on my phone and you stop getting the other stuff. I still get Foreplay and I still get Barstool. That's about it. Because I didn't really like a lot of the other stuff. I don't click on it. Scumbag Golf, I think, is bad for the game. I think Barstool needs to shut that shit down. I've seen a couple posts that were just brutal. But what happened was today, I talked about Barstool, and he kind of went on a rant and was like, oh, well, their broadcast was terrible. And I'm like, I didn't think it was terrible. I thought there was a ton of really good parts to it. I thought Rappaport was awesome as an on-course. I wasn't a huge fan of Francis being on there. He just guys are grinding for their tour card. They don't really want to be telling jokes out there. Trent and Frankie, they are what they are. I think Trent and Frankie have a good place as, what was the dude from, not Rich Eisen, what was the guy from ESPN? Oh, I should have wrote this down, but this just popped in my head right now. It'll come to me, but he goes and does all kinds of goofy things. It's a tall blonde guy. It'll pop in my head, but that's kind of where I look at Trent and Frankie. Great content. I love Trent's breaking 90. I think it's cool. Good luck, bud, if you see this. But they're kind of like the sideshow a little bit, whereas Riggs and Rap are kind of the golf guys. But Rap, for some reason, every time he gets off the one-liner thing, I just kind of find myself going, and I don't want to pick on him because I like him, and he was great on the broadcast. I thought Riggs and Minahan were good in the booth. Lance seemed a little awkward. I think that's his name, right? I don't know. He seemed a little awkward a little bit. But for the most part, I thought it was a good broadcast. But when I say it, and he's like, oh, they fucking suck, they fell off. I'm like, dude, this is the third time we've talked about Barstool. I go, the last time I brought him up on the podcast, you said they sucked then. I'm like, you sound like a hater. I'm like, have a conversation. And then we tried to have a conversation, and it turned into, every time I tried to get my point out, they suck, he sucks. And I'm like, dude, this is the fourth time that I've tried to make my point, and I haven't been able to get it in. Shut up. Let me talk. And then it just kind of sparked that's where that kind of, I get frustrated when people don't listen. I'm fine with somebody having an argument. We can argue all day, every day. If you listen to me and we have a conversation and we have an argument, I will sit there and I will listen to your point. I may disagree with your point, but I will listen to it. And then I will change my conversation, the statement I was going to make next, based on what you just said. The people that drive me nuts are the people that stand there looking at you, shaking your head, and then all of a sudden they just go into attack mode, and I'm like, I just fucking told you I agree with you on that point. And that just drives me up a wall because it clearly states, you're just letting me rant, not listening to me so you can make your point. That's when I start to get combative and I blow up a little bit. Now, Dumb and Dumber, Bob the Builder and the used car salesman protecting the hurricane, don't fucking lie to me. Just have a conversation. Listen, he sucks. We know, waiting for him to retire. He sucks. I mean, it's not like it is what it is, but don't sit there and try to defend it. Because all you're going to do is shoot facts at me that I have something to come back to you from. I'm not one of the guys up there that don't know anything. So that's kind of where we got into it with that. Like, I'd rather just not talk to me. Just stay the fuck away from me. But it is what it is. Like, people just always seem to try to attack me because they know I argue and they know it. But so they don't want to hear my point. They just want to argue my point. But what I'm saying is I agree with your point, but what you're doing is X, Y, and Z, and it causes death. Right? It is what it is. You got to figure it out. I know. I say it is what it is a lot, but I don't know how to collect my thoughts when I'm by myself. Again, it's why guests make the podcast so much better. But it's not me. It's not my personality. I'm in the mood to rant guy, and then I rant. But I rant about things that I know about, and that's why people listen and people chime in. If people weren't chiming in, I wouldn't still be doing this. Trust me. If I didn't get one or two mental health conversations or golf pros or somebody behind the scenes saying, hey, man, I love it. Thank you so much for saying what we want to say, I would stop. But I do, and it happens over and over and over again. So here we are. Quick update on me. Like I said in the post this morning, I was thinking about an Amazon job. I didn't really love the way it sounded. There's another driver job for another company that I'm talking to the guy tomorrow. So I'm trying to find like a 4-day-a-week, 10-hour-a-day job so I can still play golf and still do the podcast. I've told you all along this is not a career for me. I never expected to get offered a job or whatever. I just wanted to come on here and rant. It felt good to blog. I was trying to think of what's the next step. I thought maybe this might motivate me to get back in the golf business. It didn't, but it did get me motivated to be back playing golf. I wasn't joking in the fall when I said I was done playing golf. I thought I would never pick up a club again. So we've reached that gap. Now we just got to find a career and have a chance to rant once in a while. So to everybody reaching out behind the scenes, thank you so much. Health insurance. I'm good. I'm good until December. I have 4 shots already in the refrigerator. I had 3 shots all last year. 12 months, I had 3 shots. I have 3 shots already ready to go. So we're ready to go. We should be healthy for as long as I need. My thought is once I do take the new job, I probably won't switch insurance right away. I'll keep paying for it, figure it out, see what happens. But we're on the right track, so I am good for, a few months. I can tell my mood's already changing. The energy is starting to come back. Every once in a while, I get a day where I wake up and I feel like I ran into a wall. And every once in a while, I get a little crazy from the prednisone. So, but for the most part, I'm feeling good. My attitude's good. I think I've done a pretty good job of staying under control. And not attacking anybody too much, even when I'm negative. So it's a work in progress, right? I'm doing my best. Any of you guys have anything you want to promote, anything you have you want to shout out, you want to sell, keep reaching out behind the scenes and ask me to come on. We'll, it takes 10 minutes to set it up and we can just kind of rant. Other than that, who knows? I'll rant from time to time, usually like I've done in the past, Thursday nights into Fridays. So, that's where we're at. I haven't found the job yet, so we still have time to do some golf stuff, and we'll keep doing it until I get back to work. So, all right, guys, until next time, let's go.